You're listening to a special presentation from Night of the Living podcast, Zoned Out, the Twilight Zone Revisited, with Joe and Freddy. We were just laughing our asses off. We had three false starts. First, I hit the button right as Joe was clearing his throat, so the episode would have opened with this really, and then I went to hit record and completely missed the button. Yeah, that happened.
At the stage, I couldn't breathe because I was laughing so hard.
So much went haywire.
Hey, Freddy.
Hey, Joe.
How you doing this morning?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Awesome.
We had a good laugh. Good laugh.
Yes.
We're coming back to you this week into the zone, the Twilight Zone, the Invaders. And as I said last time, this was like one of my first exposures to the show.
Yes. Love it.
The original air date of this was January 27th, 1961. This one is really momentous for a lot of reasons. For me personally, like I said, because it was like one of the first ones, and I mentioned it last week, that I got in the Columbia House set, where I became a hardcore Twilight Zone fan, and I had it at home where I could watch it whenever I wanted. This was the first episode on those tapes. But it's for the series, it's really momentous because it's the final episode directed by Douglas Hayes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he did a ton of them. If you want more about him, just listen to And When the Sky Was Opened, which was also written by Richard Matheson, who wrote this episode. But and this is the 7th of 16 episodes that Richard Matheson wrote. For more about him, just listen to that same episode, And When the Sky Was Open. This was Rod Serling's favorite episode by a writer who wasn't him, an outside writer. The cinematography, because we're back to film. Last week we were on tape, so no cinematography credit. But this week, George T. Clemens is back to give us what we expect from the Twilight Zone visually.
Thank goodness. It's such a great episode being film. Like we'll get into it, but sorry.
Well, no, it's interesting because if you have the Blu-ray and you listen to the commentaries on it, just the idea of how different this would have been to watch on a 12-inch CRT TV in the 60s, or tube TV rather, versus as the film has been cleaned and remastered over and over again. Like, it is a drastically different experience to see it the way Joe and I watched it on a big screen. Clearly.
Yeah.
But this episode, because it deals with shadows, it's all lighting. It's very like almost German expressionist style. So it's music by Jerry Goldsmith. The setting is this remote, dark, candlelit farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere. And when I say candlelit, I mean one single candle at any given time is quote unquote lighting the scene. Obviously, they have dimmers running and everything else and big lighting rigs, but they pull it off. The movement of the candle is awesome.
So good. So good.
This is a cast of 3. So it's a tiny, tiny episode, including Serling. You have the woman played by Agnes Moorehead, striking actress. I've always thought super recognizable as Endora on Bewitched. She was her aunt, the main character's aunt on the show.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't make that connection.
And in Citizen Kane, she was his mom. Citizen Kane, Charles Foster Kane.
I knew she must have been like a fairly well-known actress, and that because she does such an amazing job in this. But wow, I didn't realize it.
So, she was born to a Presbyterian minister, and she was like devoutly religious her whole life. But she became famous for her radio work. She was a voice on The Shadow. And then after that, she joined Orson Welles' Mercury Theater, which is how she ended up in Citizen Kane. But she was in The Magnificent Ambersons, Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte. That's a hard one to say. Hush Hush,
Sweet
Charlotte. 4 Academy Award nominations out of 114 acting credits. The astronaut is voiced by Douglas Hayes, the director. And just some little bits about the episode technical side. The tiny astronauts, they were finger puppets made from foam, which took 2 hands to operate. 2 fingers worked the arms and 2 worked the legs.
And we're gonna spoil this right off the bat
Yeah.
because it's hard not to. But if you haven't seen it, like I feel like we should put a disclaimer ahead of this. Like, go watch the episode first before, because it's so good.
I would recommend to anybody to watch the episode before listening on any one of these. But I know some people just like to hear you tell the story of the episode, Joe, and that's how they experience the episode.
Oh, shucks. I love that.
So, as in other episodes, the United Planets cruiser C-57D, if you're a friggin' nerd, you might recognize that as the designation of the spaceship from Forbidden Planet.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Love it.
Was produced at MGM where they shot Twilight Zone. So that's the little saucer that lands on the roof of the farmhouse.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think, so I can't remember which other episode had it in it, but I think it was another Douglas Hayes episode where they used that prop. Pretty sure.
Is that Third from the Sun, maybe?
Maybe. That sounds right. But you get to see it as it is in scale because the actor, is in frame with it, with the model. And it's perfect for the episode, the repurposing of that. The music in this episode that Jerry Goldsmith wrote.
Intense, so good.
It's good. You know what's funny is they reused this music in the movie Alligator.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, have you ever seen that from 1980 where
no.
It's a movie based on the urban legend of when they flushed a baby alligator down the toilet and it grew to size in the sewer. And it goes on a rampage. Alligator and Alligator 2 are a blast. I think it's John Sayles did them. Did the first
I may have seen those as like on TV when they were syndicated or something.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those classics that like it's one of those your Sunday afternoon.
Definitely.
It's a horror movie. What movie can we get for super cheap? Alligator. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Alligator was but it had great pedigree. Like if you look at who made Alligator and who was involved in it, like there's a lot of people that went on to really big things. So along with The Little People, that's another episode, and Stopover in a Quiet Town. This is one of 3 episodes to feature a giant race of aliens.
Nice.
Depending on your perspective, of course.
Right.
So it's a recurring theme. I thought it was interesting, and I think we'll just talk about that when we get to the end of the story. So I'm gonna hold off on saying anything about this, more about the spaceship. There was a quote that Serling had that came up on the commentary tracks on the Blu-ray, and I thought this was a really interesting quote. He said, because this is a horror episode. I don't know if we said that. This one is, as last week was a comedy, this is absolutely a horror story.
The music makes that really clear. Like all the music, the stings and all that stuff come up, and it's just, it's really evocative. The
foreshadowing with the knife and everything. It's stuff you see, and it's all very standard horror stuff. Yeah. But he said the worst fear of all is this is Serling. The worst fear of all is the fear of the unknown working on you, which you cannot share with others. To me, that's the worst nightmarish of the stimuli. To me, that's the most nightmarish of the stimuli. Tongue twister.
Wow.
But yeah, the idea of being alone in it, where people it's I guess not being believed too.
Well, which you could take that into multiple levels of mental illness, of feeling a sense of disconnection, not being part of a larger tribe or group where you're trusted. I mean, I'm just going to gush about this episode. Yeah. It's so good that isolation, like he said, it's because you can't share it with anyone because no one else is going to get it.
And I think it's extra deep too, because like as many of the episodes, because Serling wrote most of them, it feels like that's maybe what he's been trying to do the entire time he's writing things, is just trying to put his fears into it and hope that somebody relates. But the fact that this quote came up in the context of this episode, where it's Richard Matheson who wrote it, so they are sharing kind of the fear together in a way. But like the story itself is this woman is totally and utterly alone.
Yeah.
And that's, again, going to recur throughout the series. And I think that quote really just nails one of the biggest themes of the series, is like being terrified and being alone, whether physically alone or psychologically isolated, like Joe was talking about. I love that. I love that, exploring that.
Awesome.
Because I'm a scared person sometimes too. The precise lighting we already talked about, but the scrambling of the tech people for this episode, they as funny as the Michelin Man astronauts are, the episode is so expertly put together for the time, especially, and what they wanted to get out of it. I think they nailed it. That's all I have to say on the tech side. You want to get into the nitty-gritty?
Yeah, the only other thing I would say on the tech side that really stands out to me is I'm a big fan of these narratives where it's so focused on the visuals. They really do. This is like a masterclass in that, telling the story with your visuals and not with words, right? No exposition. It's aside from the intro at the beginning and the outro at the end, there's one small snippet of spoken words, and that's it. The rest of it is sounds and visuals. And I'm a big kind of fan of cartoons that do this really well too. Like Samurai Jack is got some really great episodes where they have lots of things they're showing and sounds, but it's not speech or not telling you the story. They're really showing it to you.
I feel like that animator does that with what's Primeval? Is that the name of the one where it's about
Primal?
Primal, that's right. Primal.
Yeah, does a great job with that. And Jack and the Three Blind Archers, one of my favorite episodes of Samurai Jack. You have to be watching it because it's telling you such an amazing story, but it's all just in the visuals. It's so cool.
That's great. And no, I totally forgot to mention that she didn't speak.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a reaction to, because Serling complains about in interviews about some of his episodes about writing unnecessary dialogue and exposition and feeling embarrassed about it. I wonder if that's why he was so attracted to doing something like this.
It makes sense because as we harken back to that first episode where he felt like it was too much, where is everybody?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, buddy, I just woke up and I don't know who I am or what I am. And it's like, okay, well, now we know. Exposition done.
He's learning to trust the audience entirely for this one.
Yeah. Well, and I think that with film and TV, especially, getting to the point where you can own that so well that you don't even need dialogue to tell the story. To me, that's a sign of, it's not like you can't have amazing TV and movies with dialogue. Obviously you can, but to nail it without that is really something special, I think. And this stands out for that.
Yeah. And I think, people do talk about that a lot where there's any kind of visual, whether it's a play or TV, film, whatever, when there is no dialogue, sometimes it's fetishized in a way where it doesn't mean that it's superior to, or inferior. Like it's just, sometimes it's the right choice for what it's about, the story they're telling,
Yeah.
And this is one of those stories where you just don't need it,
Absolutely.
So why have it?
Exactly.
All
right. So
let's get into the tech, the icky, sticky tech. I mean, the story, not the tech.
All right. So it begins, and there's and it starts right off with the intro. And this is Rod Serling saying, we see the cabin from the outside, and it looks like a kind of a cabin out in the middle of nowhere. And he actually starts walking in front of her, like she's working in her little kitchen, no screens, and there was very rustic. And he just walks by her window as she's working in it, which always tickles me when he's just appearing in there.
Which just makes you also feel even more like it's definitely Earth.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, "This is one of the out-of-the-way places, the unvisited places, bleak, wasted, dying. This is a farmhouse. Handmade, crude, a house without any electricity or gas, a house untouched by progress. This is the woman who lives in the house, a woman who's been alone for many years, a strong, simple woman whose only problem up until this moment has been that of acquiring enough food to eat, a woman about to face terror, which is even now coming at her from The Twilight Zone.
Sorry about that click there in the middle. I have a sprained wrist or something. I was just putting a heating pad on it, and the fucking controller fell on the floor. Sorry.
It's okay. We'll make it a point of punctuation there.
It did work because you said terror, and it happened right after. So it did feel like a period.
Drops. So this older woman lives, which she's not even that old, but the way that they show her, and again, I'm going to just gush at different points here. Very clear. It looks like much older, like she's got some older clothing on. Looks like maybe it's handmade. She's in a remote cabin. There's no electricity. There's no plumbing. There's any of that. And so it starts out and she's kind of making a soup, and they do the Chekhov's gun thing, which if you're not familiar with that thing, at one point she goes over and grabs a knife from her wall, which she's got her 3 knives there.
Well, do you want to say what Chekhov's gun is for people that don't know?
Oh yeah, sorry, that's a good point. Do you want to narrate it?
Simply put, if you put a gun in your first act of a story, it has to be fired by the third act of the story, right?
In other words, don't put anything in there that you're not going to use. So if it's there for a reason. And so, so they show it, and they make a very clear point for her to reach out, pick up one of the knives. It's dull. She switches to a smaller knife, and that one is sharp. So she uses that to cut up her vegetable. And then she walks back, and she's got this big cauldron of this big pot that she's stirring, and it's got dry ice in it too, which I love. So it's kind of like this smoke coming out of it. And she hears this sound come up, and it gets louder and louder. And at one point, she's kind of covering her ears, like, it's like a deafening sound. And all of a sudden, there's this kaboom, and she kind of falls underneath her table, and there's some dirt falls from the ceiling. So it's, again, you're getting that feeling of like, this is a old cabin somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and something just jostled her completely, knocked her off her feet. And so very methodically, she's like, what was that? And then she gets up, grabs a lantern. And when I say lantern, it's not even glass in this lantern. It's like a piece of metal on a platform with a candle in it that she climbs up, and she's got that in one hand, and she's climbing up the ladder to her roof, which I never understood. I always thought it was her attic.
Yeah.
But this is a...
I know what you're saying, Joe, because I had that same. I remembered it being inside the house too.
Yeah,
I think it's because they filmed it on a set, and the night sky just doesn't look right, so it looks like an interior. Yeah,
and that it's, you see from some of the other shots later, like if you're paying attention, you can see in the background that it's actually something. You're actually outside, but
there's siding, visible, like siding.
Yeah, and so she opens this hatch and kind of peers around, and she sees this UFO up on her roof. And then so it's kind of a shocker, because you're like, whoa, this is a flying saucer. And there's a commercial break. And when the commercial break comes back, she's standing up on top of the roof outside of the hatch, and she's about to put her foot on the side of the flying saucer, and like that. And
I did it again.
She's about to step on it, and she hears a noise, and then she kind of crouches down, and she looks at it. She looks at the bottom of the flying saucer, and there's a ramp lowering. And then she kind of scoots over, because she hears these footsteps, and she's kind of like accosted by, she's kind of squatting down looking underneath this thing, but then kind of gets back up again, and it comes around, and she's got this little creature in like what's like a robot. It looks like a miniature robot, and it's about maybe 6 to 8 inches tall, maybe 10 inches.
Super pudgy. Like they're fat. They're built like the Michelin Man, or what's that video game that's like werewolf where you play astronauts? Among Us, maybe, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
They look
kind of like that kind of style crossed with that with like a little toy robot, like Robbie the robot.
Yeah, because it has a spinning satellite dish on its head too.
Yeah, and it's got these light up things, and it's in where it would be its hands, and so it's like it does this. and she kind of startles back, and she's like, "Whoa!" And it comes from around the side, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So it comes like she's crouching down. Yeah. around the outside. A little M&M for you this morning. And so it comes out, and it's right kind of by her face, and it's and it's clear, like you find out later, like it's zapping her, whatever the sound is, the bzz, 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 bzz sound is actually shooting her with something, and it's hurting her, it's injuring her. And so she kind of sweeps this robot or creature down into the hatch, down into her cabin, and slams the hatch closed. And a moment later, she hears it again from behind her, and there's another one on the edge of the roof, and she kind of takes her lantern and kind of sweeps and slides it over. She nails him. She's like robot bowling, and it slides over and knocks it off the edge of the roof. And so she's like, what is going? She's freaked out because obviously there's these weird robot creatures that are attacking her. And so she kind of carefully crawls down from the hatch. And what I love about this is, imagine yourself in this spot. And this is where I think where it was probably so effective of its time. She's completely alone. There were lots of people who lived alone, and maybe older folks, and would live in someplace rustic like that. And so you're alone, and this weird robot thing is coming out. Like, what do you do? Right. And it's shooting you, and it's painful,
Yeah.
So she's being real careful because she knows she knocked one of them into the house. Right. So she climbs down, and she sees one of the little weapons it was carrying, and she kind of picks it up, and it looks almost like a Christmas tree light. If you've ever seen one of those little
because it
lights.
is one.
Yeah, probably. Exactly. Yeah. And she picks it up, and she's kind of holding it, and all of a sudden it activates, and she's, kind of drops it again. And when she reaches down to pick it up, she's got some like bubbled, like almost looks like warts or sores on her arm. And you find out that like she's kind of nursing these wounds. And she's got them all over her hand, and she kind of points at them, and she kind of puts some water on them, and she's got another one on her chest, and it's from where she was zapped.
And they look pretty minor.
Yeah.
They're like, it's almost like cigarette burns.
Yeah. Well, and it's like bubbled up too. It's almost like a dime-sized welt, but it from her sound she's making, it sounds painful, and she's really good at. And again, this is not her saying "ouch."
Yeah,
she's and
she's trying to clean them, and I think that's part of it too. I think they sting.
So painful. Yeah, well,
because I do feel like she has definitely got the upper hand through this entire. Even though it's very Zuni warrior, like Tales of Terror, which was also Richard Matheson.
Yeah.
Now I think about it, the one with the little doll.
Yeah, right. But I wonder, like, if how painful they were. Like, if that was, I mean, you think about being in pain and afraid at the same time, and there's lots of things where she gets injured. Anyway, we'll keep going.
She's a great actor.
She's amazing.
What I'm saying is, as great an actor as she is, you have to be that good because the little aliens are so cute that you have to be really, really selling it.
Yeah. Because otherwise it could look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get there in a second, because there's a moment where it's kind of like, okay. So she's checking her wounds, and she starts hearing some different noises, like a beep, 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 and then like different noises from the other room. And so she very carefully and quietly, she's being we're focused on her the whole time, goes to another like closet and reaches back and grabs this huge paddle, like ladle thing. I think it was supposed to be like a big spoon.
Yeah. Like the decorative one that's on everybody's grandma's wall in the kitchen.
Right. It's not quite a canoe oar, but that kind of idea, but it looks like you'd use it to stir a big cauldron.
It's used for stirring kettle corn. She makes the best kettle corn.
Well, and they make her look kind of, it almost has a very witchy vibe to it too.
Definitely.
Which I don't know what the underpinning of that theme was, but if people have ideas, please write to us at crew@notlp.com. And so she takes that out, and she takes another small kind of lantern type thing. Again, not glass or anything to it, but it's just like a little tray with a candle in it. And she starts kind of going to her bedroom and probing to different spots in the room to try and find this creature that has dropped its weapon. And she kind of creeps to the door to the outside, and she opens it, and again, there's the creature, and it zaps her again. And so she slams the door closed and braces it and puts a plug in there to make sure it's locked. And you hear some footsteps running off, and she kind of watches. You know, you can hear her following it with her eyes, or you can hear her. You can see her following
You can hear
it,
her eyes.
following the noise with her eyes. And so she kind of starts probing under the bed again at one point and pokes back. And all of a sudden she can't pull her paddle, like she's fighting with something. And as she does, she kind of yanks back. And as she swings around, she falls back and tries to get up really quick and knocks over her candle and is plunged into darkness, which is, again, it's freaky when you imagine it being that dark. She's only got the light from the fireplace in that case. And so, again, it goes to commercial break. When it comes back, she's in the dark again, and she's quietly sneaking back to the kitchen area, and it's there we notice that one of her knives is missing. So we saw the 3 knives once, twice, and now the third time there's one missing. And you're like, oh no. So she hears some more noises, and one of the creatures appears to kind of fly up into her window. So it appears like they have some ability to fly or levitate or something. And so she kind of slams the shutter doors closed and braces it with a bucket. And then she is super freaked out. So she's kind of making her way back to her bedroom. And as she does, she starts walking across the floor, and we see a close-up on the floor of one of the creatures emerging from one of her floorboards with the knife. And we don't see the cut, but she makes it clear it's painful.
I think it's an Achilles cut kind of vibe.
It's like the Gage from Pet Sematary. Yes.
Yeah. Only they're cuter. They're even cuter than Gage.
Yeah.
And it's holding the knife with the little
knife with its 2 paws. Yes.
It's so cute.
It's cute and it's vicious. It's there's something to that, I think, too, that it's that juxtaposition of, oh, it's so adorable. Oh, and it's trying to cut my Achilles tendon. Like,
right.
That's terrifying. And so she kind of falls back on the bed, and a moment later, it leaps up onto her, and she immediately tosses it back, and it flies across the room and hits the dresser and falls down. But that's the moment where I was like, okay, if they didn't put all the music to make it creepy, somebody clearly just tossed it at her on the bed, and then she tossed it away, right? And so when that happens, it has hit the wall and dropped the knife, and she kind of reaches down and is grabbing at her ankle, and she kind of staggers out of the room in obvious pain. She checks her ankle, and it looks like she's bleeding, and she's like nursing it, and she kind of staggers into another room and comes back with a hatchet. And you're like, oh, she's
it's on.
I love that she's such a strong protagonist in this too. I mean, like, you're really kind of rooting for her. Like, yeah, go kill those things. Right?
I've always had a little bit of a crush on Agnes Moorehead for some reason.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
she's a real strong character.
Yeah, I also think she's just really beautiful.
Yeah,
her whole life, just a beautiful woman.
Striking, just real striking features.
Yeah.
And so she's got the hatchet. She kind of comes around the corner, and I kept thinking of she's like the original Last Girl or something, because she's the only one. But she's got a hatchet, and you're like, oh, now it's on. So she comes around, and she goes to get to the door back to her bedroom, which is closed, and there's like a lever to kind of flip it up so it unlatches. And when she goes to grab the lever, a knife comes through the hole and cuts her hand.
Yes.
And she pulls back and she shows, like, the camera can see her hand and it's starting to bleed. And it's like, whoa, that's visceral.
Yeah.
You know?
Joe, have you ever watched Trilogy of Terror?
I feel like I have, but I don't remember it.
It's so great. Like, I highly, it's made for TV if I remember right. Maybe.
Yeah.
But watch it. It's Karen Black in the Zuni doll. I can't remember what they call it.
Yeah.
But it's got so much in common with this. There's so much mirrored in that episode as there is to the Invaders. They go really well together.
Yeah. So she kind of comes back and she staggers back, shows that her hand is like bleeding, and it was one of those where I was like, okay, clearly, like, they're not it's not super special effects heavy, it's not gory. But you get the idea, and you're like, I cringe every time it happens. I'm like, ugh,
It's about the worst place to get cut is either we presume in her Achilles, but then the next worst is the palm of your hand,
right across the palm of her hand,
where your nerves are.
And the fact that it turns red and looks like it's growing patch of blood, like, right away, I was like, that it seemed not racy,
just graphic.
Little graphic for the 60s, right?
Yeah.
And so she pulls back, and then she's getting mad, and so she lunges for the thing again and throws the door open and goes back in, and she's looking all over with the hatchet and stumbles into the bedroom, and she's like swinging around, and she grabs from another room a candle. This time it's just a bare candle in a holder. And she sweeps it under her bed, which I kept thinking, oh God, you're going to let your bed on fire. But, that's her house. So of course she knows what she's doing. And so as she does, she's like looking for it, and she's getting exhausted. You can see she's so tired. I'm sure she's running on adrenaline, but like
so much
terrified.
Sweat.
Yeah. And they show her getting sweaty. They show her getting like messy, and she takes the candle and puts it on her bedpost, which is just a couple feet up. And as she does, you see the light shift, and there's something moving underneath her blanket. Oh, it was just like, oh, it's so creepy. and so she sees that, and she reaches down. And again, all the music is supporting every moment of this. So it's got all the right crescendos of the shrill of the strings and all that. She pulls it back, and sure enough, it's the creature. It starts shooting at her. She throws the blanket back over it and balls it up. And as she does that, she shoves it into the middle of the bed, and another one appears in the window above the bed. And so she's like, oh, and so she slams the door, the window shades closed there, pushes it out of the window, slams the window shades, grabs the blanket and balls it up, and she can then holds it in front of her. And there's this moment where a knife pushes out from the ball, and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy,
Yeah.
And she's got this kind of almost animalistic look on her face of like this rage of trying to deal with it. She grabs the knife and kind of wiggles it out of there, and then tosses the knife and grabs the ball and smashes it against the table several times.
Like Jason Voorhees with a camper and a sleeping bag.
Yes. It was just like, and then finally it stops moving, and she's like, and
can you imagine what the widow is told when the Air Force contacts her?
Missing in action. Yes. Yeah. And so she waits till it's still, and then she kind of takes this box. So she's holding it in one hand, and we see her do all this stuff is just very, I don't know. There's something about watching every moment of it, and it's not separate clips necessarily. It's like a single moment of she's apparently killed it. She takes this box, she empties what's in the box out, which it was like fabric and sticks, so that must have been like a thing for kindling or something. She flips open her blanket and drops the creature into it, closes the box, and tosses it into the fire.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm done with this, right? I'm just going to burn it. And as that happens, moments later, there's an explosion. You hear this bang, and it looks over, and there's a hole the size of like when you see in the old cartoons, like a mouse hole. It's like, 5 or 6 inches by 5 or 6 inches, blown perfectly into the side of her house. And a moment later, there's a creature the creature appears there again, and it's shooting her again. And when that happens, she kind of runs away to get her hatchet. She grabs her hatchet and comes back, and she poises herself above the hole, waiting for the creature to come back and shoot again. And then she's waiting. And as she's waiting, we see a couple of close-ups. One of this same close-up twice, which is her, not the same clip, but her waiting there. And she's staring at the camera, wild-eyed, and her hair is all a big muss around her. And she's drooling. Like there's saliva coming from her mouth. It's like animal. It's like wild. It's just so, and again, you think of it's 1960 something. Like this is a woman who's a professional actress to do this where she looks so kind of wild and feral is, I don't know. I'm trying to find the right way to describe this. It's awesome acting. Like she's intensely into the role, right?
Well, she could do everything from radio to live theater to this, it's like, she's willing to just throw herself into stuff.
I'm always taken aback by how awesome her acting job is in this. Like you said, it could be seen as very cartoonish, but she's all in 100%. And so she's waiting there, and we see her, and we see a light from what we assume is the creature kind of pacing back and forth. It goes back and forth a couple of times, and she's waiting. She's got the hatchet just hanging out above the hole. It's waiting, and then she hears and she hears the footsteps go away.
The pitter-patter of little feet.
Yes. And she turns around and she's like, wait a minute. She starts following the sound with her eyes. It's going away from the hole and up, and then she hears it up on the roof. And she's like, okay. So she goes, grabs her hatchet, goes back around, or she's got the hatchet in her hand, grabs a candle in one hand. No, does she have the candle anymore? I think she left the candle on the bed. She climbs up the ladder. Yes, that's right, in the dark. And she gets up there, and she opens up the hatch again. And when she gets up there, she sees the UFO, and the UFO, the ramp closes, and she gets up there and immediately starts smashing the UFO. And she's hacking at it and smashing it like back and forth. And you can see she's just exhausted, but she's using every bit of strength to smash this thing. And as she does, we hear a sound of like radio static, and then it says, Central Control, come in, Central Control. Do you read me? Grisham is dead. Repeat, Grisham is dead. The ship's destroyed. Incredible race of giants here. Race of giants. No, Central Control. No counterattack. Repeat, no counterattack. Too much for us. Too powerful. Stay away. Grisham and I, we're finished. Finished. Stay away. Stay away. And as they're saying that, she's smashing and hacking at it. She pauses for a moment when she first hears it, but at the end, she's smashing it again. And finally, she just collapses, utterly exhausted. And as the camera does a close-up and pans around the carnage of the smashed UFO, it comes around and you see imprinted on the side, U.S. Air Force Space Probe number 1.
Yeah, that was the thing at the beginning of the episode. I didn't want to say specifically that it was number 1. So You're like, oh, this is the very first probe they sent out, and this is what happens.
Yes.
But, this episode. Do you want to? I didn't know if you wanted to just.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The closing.
Yeah. So as that happens, they basically, it's this smoking heap. And she's totally wiped, but she climbs back down the hatch. And as she does, it says, these are the invaders, the tiny beings from the tiny place called Earth, who would take the giant step across the sky to the question marks that sparkle and beckon from the vastness of the universe, only to be imagined. The invaders, who found out that a one-way ticket to the stars beyond has the ultimate price tag. And we have just seen it entered in the ledger that covers all the transactions in the universe. A bill stamped paid in full and to be found unfiled in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. This is maybe like one of the best of the series.
Yeah.
I would love to see someone turn it into like take this and turn it into a feature film and, focus on, you could build on it. You could have a first act. Someone like Vera Farmiga would be really great as this character. And
Sure.
you could build the first part of the movie could be what you see in this episode, only, with all of today's bells and whistles that you could add in and elaborate fight sequences. And then you could
Right.
have like a whole second half where after they're astronauts from Earth, where you get some things from their perspective. There's a lot that this fires the imagination. I think that's why so many, a lot of sci-fi and fantasy writers, they talk about this episode being like an inspiration.
Yeah.
It's so classic. I think it'd be somebody who has seen stuff like this done over and over again now might not be as impressed, but
Yeah.
it's entertaining as hell. All of the elaborate lighting and puppet work is just like, and then her performance, like everything just kind of works in a way, even though I do think it's funny, like I'm still recognize, that it can be scary because life sometimes is like that, where scary shit and funny shit is happening all at once. It's
Right.
Life is absurd.
It's over the top to the point where it's like, okay, but it's every time I watch this, there was a point where like the first couple of viewings, I would get to the point where I'd be like, okay, well, these things are ridiculous. It's little Robbie the robot. Why would anybody be scared of that? And then you start to put yourself in her shoes and you're imagining this place where you don't have electricity. You don't have plumbing. We don't even know if that exists on her world. Right.
Right.
And these things arrive and immediately start stinging. And like they talk about the things that wounds she got were radiation burns of some sort of their weapon. And, these things are painful. She might be getting like exhausted and feeling sick during all of this. And she gets more and more like, she defends her space, which I love, the strong female protagonist. And it's that twist at the end that if you weren't expecting it is such a punch in the gut of like, whoa. I mean, I totally wasn't expecting it the first time I saw it. And I remember this is one of the episodes that I watched when I started kind of rewatching them as a kid, like having seen some, and my mom talked about this being her favorite. And so I watched it again and I was like, oh, like there's so much to think about space exploration, and it's always portrayed in such a positive light in Star Trek and Star Wars and all these different things. There's you start to value the people who have put a positive spin on that space experience when you see the maybe closer to reality of something like Alien or Aliens.
Yeah.
And or this episode where it's like, we're not changing as humans when we go to another planet. We're not necessarily putting our best peaceful foot forward.
Right.
It's like there's the military, and that's
well, it's colonization.
Life or
It's
death.
a criticism of colonization too. Like
Totally.
a lot of science fiction is, and I'm sure that when Matheson wrote this, I don't know. I haven't read. I kind of wish I had taken the time before we recorded to read the story that this is based on, because I've never read it before. But I do get that once it got to Serling's hands, especially, I think that there was a little bit of that, this idea of just the idea of being invaded and what was going on with politics at the time too. It kind of, again, just kind of like last week's episode, it feels like it's very much of its time. This idea that outsiders are trying to infiltrate, but reversing it so that the outsiders are really us. That's a challenge to people during, just after the Red Scare. They're coming out of that, and we're still kind of paranoid about communists at this point in our history. I don't know. It's a great episode, timed perfectly.
It's that so subtle, well, relatively subtle, that kind of makes you chew on it and think of Serling saying, yeah, you know what, we're the bad guys sometimes. It's introduces that idea without throwing it in your face and saying, look at how evil these people are. Look at these over the top caricatures of evil. They're in this space, and there's this creature that, they're traveling through space. They've landed in this place. They're checking it out. Now, did they need to attack her right off the bat? No, but did they have a reason? Who knows? It's just, it's interesting, and it's thought provoking. The more I watch it, about going into that story, into that scenario, and especially to me, the moments that were goofy before, the ankle cut, the hand cut, those moments are so much more kind of not scary, but like cringe inducing in the fear and in discomfort, rather than like for comedic effect.
It's akin to having like the vibe of if there was a snake in your house.
Yeah.
A venomous snake is in your house.
Right
now. Maybe there's 3 of them.
Yeah, right.
At least
exactly.
2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. We never knew how many the creatures there were until at the end. It sounded like there's just the 2 of them. But if it's there, you don't know where it is.
Yeah.
So, and you can't fall asleep because there's a snake. What happens when you're sleeping?
Right. You can't do anything until you know for sure they're either out or dead.
And this character, this protagonist, she's alone, and she's sure as heck gonna defend herself. And she does, like, successfully. I love that about that too, is that she wins in the end, and defends herself, and hopefully she's going to be okay. But like, I don't know, it evokes a lot of feelings if you're willing to open your mind up to taking the perspective of the different characters to play through it. And I think that that's, again, one of the best aspects of the Twilight Zone, is it really is such a good job of opening your mind to different perspectives.
Changed storytelling a lot too. All of the writers who contributed to the Twilight Zone, like this idea that, a story is ABC, they were more apt to experiment and change what we expect in a narrative as an audience, when really you could tell this story from the perspective straight of who you would normally tell it from, who are the astronauts who represent us. Like, you could tell it that way and it would be completely unremarkable.
Right. And so that separate perspective. And I think that one of the other pieces I really like about it is everything was done with such intention. It told the story, it got you there. There was the twist at the end, and it's beautifully encapsulated. So just love it.
And most dramatically lit episode, I think, of the series.
Yeah.
If you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's like you said earlier, it's very horror feeling with the music and the lighting and everything. It's very, stunning.
Yeah.
So next week, we've got A Penny for Your Thoughts with a young Dick York, I believe.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to remember. Is this where you can start reading minds?
Yes, he's the bank teller. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I haven't seen this one in forever. I can't remember other than that. I just remember it's funny that it comes right after this, the whole liar, and then the mind reading, and they go together as just comedy premises. When I say this, I mean, last week's episode, The Whole Truth. I'm surprised they didn't play those. I guess they thought maybe they were too alike to play back to back, but they almost feel like they belong together anyway.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Thanks, Joe.
Well, thank you, Freddie. Thanks everybody for joining us.